Tips for Success, Exercise Set 1-3, Analyzing Visual Arguments. We're constantly bombarded by visual material, from billboards to artwork to online videos. All of these things are aiming to persuade us of something. Sometimes the material tries to persuade us to do something or to want something, while other times it's trying to persuade us to believe something. You can think of a lot of these different examples as visual arguments. Visual arguments don't necessarily present their premises and conclusions in words, but we can still read them as offering reasons in support of conclusions or as arguments. When you're thinking about visual arguments, it's entirely up to you to present the argument's ideas in a natural order. The first thing that you'll need to do is to determine the conclusion of the visual argument. So, what is it that the argument is trying to get you to do or to believe? Then, you need to ask yourself whether the picture or video offers you reasons to believe that conclusion. If so, these will be the premises of the argument. To identify the premises in a visual argument, think about what the connection is between the images that you're seeing and the conclusion that those images are meant to support. To take an extremely simple case, suppose an advertisement shows an athlete enjoying Sprite. So, our friend LeBron James mentioned in an earlier example, here, holding a Sprite from a recent advertisement. The conclusion of this visual argument is that you also should drink Sprite. So, what is the connection between the images of the athlete, in this case LeBron James drinking Sprite, and the claim that you should drink it? If the athlete takes a sip after a hard game or workout, perhaps the message is that Sprite's especially refreshing. In that case, the argument might be something like this. Sprite is especially refreshing. You like refreshing drinks. Therefore, you ought to drink Sprite. Simple enough, I think. Or maybe the athlete's sitting around with her friends, and they're all having a good time drinking Sprite. So here is another athlete drinking a Sprite. I couldn't find an example of an athlete sitting around with their friends, but fair enough. Here is the athlete enjoying Sprite. In this case, the message might be something like, hip young people, especially people who like this particular athlete's sport, in this case tennis, drink Sprite. And if you want to be like this person, you should drink Sprite too. Different people are likely to come up with different interpretations of the same visual argument. In fact, you can probably come up with different interpretations of the same visual argument yourself. So think back to either of the two arguments that we looked at, the one with LeBron James or the one with the female tennis player. In both cases, perhaps you could come up with different interpretations of that same visual argument. Don't worry about this as we go through these examples. There isn't necessarily a correct interpretation. Just focus on finding a plausible interpretation. Okay, so the objective of this assignment is to help you recognize short arguments in visual materials. The instructions begin by following the link in the assignment to go to the companion website for this book. Here you're going to see a list of images in videos. What I want you to do is write the premise and conclusion outline of the arguments that you think the image or video is trying to communicate. You're going to be graded on the even numbers, as always. However, the explanations for the odd numbers are at the bottom of the page. And remember that there can be different interpretations of visual arguments, and this point will become clear as you read through the examples, because there's a couple of interpretations among the examples that, at least for me, were not what I was thinking of when I looked at the visual arguments.